In this part 9 of this AWS series, we are going to take a look onto the AWS application load balancer. Alright, so let's start with our first basic building block for this whole setup. So that is going to be the VPC. So here you can see this is the VPC which we need to create onto our AWS environment. So I'm just going to switch to my AWS console. So this is my AWS console. Type in the search box VPC, click on the VPC. Here click on create VPC. Click on VPC only because we are only interested in creating VPC. Enter the name. So I'm just going to put test VPC. Then we need to specify the IP ranges. So here I'm just going to choose the IP range. This is a user defined. You can change and you can put your own default IP range which you want to have it. Okay, so that I have specified tenancy. I'm just going to keep it default tag. I'm just going to keep it test VPC. And after that, you just click on create VPC. And here you can see our VPC has been created, which you can verify by clicking over here. And here you can see this is the test VPC which we have just created. Moving ahead, the next block which we need to create for this targeted architecture is the internet gateway. So this is the internet gateway which we are going to associate with our VPC. So again, switch back to our console and here onto VPC dashboard, you will find an option for an internet gateway. So just click on here. Here you can see there is no internet gateway has been created. Click on internet gateway. Then here you can specify the name. So I'm just going to copy from my notepad and paste it over here. And this is the IGW. That's the abbreviation I'm keeping it. And the key name, the tag name, I'm just going to keep it name and internet gateway test. So click on create internet gateway. And here you can see our internet gateway has been created. But remember that internet gateway is not associated with the VPC, which you can verify from here. So this internet gateway has been created, but state is detached. So you need to click on this internet gateway, go to action, go to attach VPC, and here you need to select the test VPC, which we have just created in the previous step. So attach to internet gateway. And now our internet gateway is ready. Moving back to our diagram, the next block which we need to create over here is the subnet. So here we are going to create two subnets. Both are going to be a public subnet, and these are the IP ranges which we are going to assign to those subnets. So let's switch back to our AWS console, and here in the VPC, not VPC, but on a VPC dashboard, you will find an option for a subnet. So here you can see these are the subnets. Click on it. So here these are the default subnet which has already been created for you, but we don't need to use that. We are going to create our own public subnet. So click on create subnet over here. Then you need to select the VPC. So select test VPC because we are going to work inside our test VPC. Okay, so now we have selected the test VPC and then we need to enter the name of our public subnet. So I'm just going to put the name test public subnet 1A. So I'm just going to explain to you why I'm using 1A, because I'm present in the Europe zone. So that's why I'm using the Europe Central 1A. That's the availability zone. So I'm just going to select that one. After that, we need to specify the IP range for my public subnet. So I'm just going to use the IP range over here. So I have just copied and pasted. So here the value which I have pasted. So 12.0.1.0/24. So I will have a 256 IPs available within my subnet. So that's my first public subnet which I have created. I need to create one more public subnet so that we can create two EC2 instances inside those subnet, and then we can load balance the traffic onto those EC2 instances. So that's just a heads up for you. Okay, so here I'm just going to copy another value. So I just going to paste the name, and sorry, this is not the correct. So I'm just going to copy the name from the top, go over here, and here I'm just going to change it to 1B. So that I can provision this subnet into another zone. And here I'm just going to specify the zone, that is Europe Central 1B. After that, I need to specify the IP range. So I'm just going to check what IP range I have specified. So it's a 12.0.3.0. So I'm just going to copy from my notepad, go back to my AWS console, paste the value over here, and the tags, that's fine. I'm just going to click on create subnet. And here you can see our subnet has been created. If you go back to dashboard, and if you click on subnet, then here you can see these are the two subnets which we have just created. Now, after creating the subnets, we need to create the route table also, so that this public subnet can have the access to the internet, because internet gateway and the subnets are still not connected with each other. And for that, we need a route table. So here you will also find an option on the left hand side to create a route table. So click on it. And here these are the default route table, but we are not going to use that one. We are just going to create a new one. So here I'm just going to put the name of the route table. So test public RT. RT is the abbreviation for a route table. Then again, we are working in a single VPC. So the VPC which we have created is the test VPC. I'm just going to select that one. The key, I'm just going to go with the default value and then just click on create route table. Check the route tables over here. So here you can see our route table has been created. The next thing which we need to do, we need to provide an internet access to this route table. And also we need to associate this route table with our subnet. So first of all, we are just going to associate this route table with our subnets. So I'm just going to click on subnet association, go to edit subnets. And here you can see both the subnet which I have created. So select both of them and save association. So now this route table is being associated with these subnets, but still these subnets don't have the access to our internet. And for that we need to create a route. So here go on to routes, inside the route table, click on edit routes. And here click on add route, and here you need to enter the IP. So this 0.0.0.0 means it will have an internet access and anyone can access those public subnet, or any resource present inside that public subnet will be accessible. So that's just a heads up for you. Now we need to select the internet gateway, because internet gateway is responsible for providing the internet access for this route table. So I'm just going to select the internet gateway, and here you need to the internet gateway name will pop up because this is the internet gateway which we have just created. So select this internet gateway, and after that you can just click on save changes. Alright, so now this route table has an internet gateway which is linked to internet, and now we are having the subnets also. All the public subnets are associated with this particular route tables. Now after creating the route table, let's take a look onto the diagram first and check on the next block which we are going to create. So here these are the things which we have achieved so far. We have created the VPC, we have created the internet gateway, we have created the subnet, and we have also created the route table. Now the next thing which we need to create is we need to create the EC2 instances. So we will create two EC2 instances, one in first subnet and another one into another public subnet. So we have already created the two public subnet inside our AWS. So let's switch back to our AWS console over here and go to home page of our AWS console. Click on EC2, or either you can type over here. So EC2 over here. And here you can see there are no instances running. So click on launch instances. And here we are just going to put the name test EC2 instance 1. Second, we need to choose the base operating system. For that, I'm just going to choose Ubuntu. After that, I need to choose the architecture. So I'm just going to go with x86. I'm just going to choose t2.micro because this is just for demo purpose. Key pair, I'm just going to choose, I'll just create a new key pair. So test ALB demo key pair. All right, then create key pair. And remember, once you create this key pair, then here it is going to download this key pair for you. Okay, and also it is going to associate this public key. So here you can see in the drop down, the public key has been associated with our EC2 instance. And this is the private key which we have downloaded, which we are going to use later. Okay, so now we have created the key pair. Go to network setting. This is important because here we need to change few things. And the few things I'm talking about is we need to associate our test VPC, which we have just created. So here from the drop down, just select the test VPC, which we have created. Then from the drop down menu, you need to select the public subnet. So by default, it will populate those subnet which we have created. So first of all, for first instance, I'm just going to go with the test public subnet 1A. So that has been selected. Assign public IP. So I'm just going to say enable it. Yes. Create security group. That's important because we are just going to create some security group rules over here. So here you can see by default, we are allowing the SSH. So whenever this EC2 instance starts, so we will be able to SSH into this EC2 instance on a port 2020, but also we need to enable the port 80 so that we can access the Apache, which we are going to install onto this EC2 instance. So for that, click on add security rule, and instead of custom TCP, we are just going to choose the HTTP, and here port 8080, source type from anywhere. So we will be able to access this EC2 instance from anywhere in the world. So I think that's good. So remember, we need to create these, at least these two security groups. One is for SSH and one is for HTTP port 80, so that it is accessible from outside AWS environment. All right, so that we have done it. The default storage, we are gonna go with the 8 GB, and in the advanced details here we need to do few more things. So if you go down, then here is the user data section where you can write down the packages which you want to get it installed onto your EC2 machine. So if you don't know what is user data, then please check the previous session where I have explained like what is user data and how you can use the user data to bootstrap or pre-install certain software packages. But just to give you a brief, I'm just going to copy one of my script, which is, I'm just going to show you, which is this. So here what we are going to do, we are just going to update the package manager. We are just going to install the Apache 2, and after that we are just going to update the index.html so that it can print the host name of that EC2 instance. So that's the simple thing I'm just trying to achieve over here. All right, so once we are done with all this thing, what we are going to do, we are just going to click on this launch instance button. So click on launch instance. Okay, so here our instance has been launched. So click on this instances, and here right now it is in a pending state. So I'll be back once this instance is up and running. So after a minute or so, my instance is up and running, and here you can see the status which is running. So click on this instance ID, and here you will find the public IP. So first we need to verify our Apache whether it has been installed or not. So I'm just going to copy this address, go to browser and hit enter. So here you can see these are the server detail. I'm just going to zoom in a bit over here so that you can see. So this is the IP which we are trying to print over here so that we can later on verify once we provision the load balancer, so that which request is going to which EC2 instance. So this is the internal IP address which you can see 12.0.1.142, and now this IP range you can know that this is the same IP range we have specified for our public subnet. So now we are getting the IP addresses for our EC2 instance from that particular range. Okay, so I'm just going to close this window over here, and I'm just going to click on EC2. So as of now, I'm just going to refresh it again. So here you can see one instance running. So now we have provisioned one EC2 instance, but we need one more EC2 instance into another public subnet. So for that, I'm just going to click on this launch instance, and here I'm just going to put test EC2 instance, and I'm just going to put 2, select Ubuntu. Then here you just need to select the architectural type. I'm just going to go with the default x86 T2 micro, and here I'm just going to choose the key pair name which I have just created. I think it is test ALB demo key pair. Network setting, I'm just going to edit it, select the VPC which is test VPC which we have just created, and here subnet I'm just going to choose 1B. Okay, and here auto assign, enable it, create security group. Yes, we want to create a security group, and for that we are just going to go with the default which is SSH22 because we want to SSH into our EC2 instance, but also we want to enable the HTTP on a port 80. So, and also I just want to exit it from anywhere. Okay, so now we have defined this security group rule. The next thing which we need to do is configure storage. I'm just going to stick with the default one, but in the advanced detail, I'm just going to go with the user data. So here, this is the section. I'm just going to copy the script to install the Apache, and that's been done. And after that, I think it looks good. So I'm just going to hit on launch instance. Okay, so click on launch instance. All right. So let's go back to instances, and here you can see it is in pending state. So I'll be back once this second instance is up and running. All right, so now my second instance is up and running. So let's verify a few things over here. So I'm just going to copy the IP address, which is the public IP address, and verify my Apache 2 page. So click on it, and here you can see, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So this is the IP which has been assigned for this EC2 instance, and now it is 12.03 and then 160. So it's again coming from the default IP range which we have assigned for our another public subnet, and which you can verify from here also. So here you can see the same IP which is available over here. So now we have provisioned our EC2 instances, and now we have installed the Apache, but we have not yet configured the target group, which we are going to do the next. But before we create a target group, let's take a look onto our architectural diagram. So here you can see we have achieved so far like VPC, internet gateway, subnets, and also we have provisioned the EC2 instances. So now what we need to do, we just need to create our target group. So target group is just a logical unit where we are gonna club these EC2 instance into this single target group, so that later on Elastic load balancer can point to this particular target group. I know it sounds complicated, but let's take a look onto our AWS console, and then you are going to understand what I'm trying to say over here. Alright, so this is my EC2 dashboard. So click on this EC2 dashboard homepage, and on the left navigation menu, there is an option for a load balancing, and inside the load balancing, there is an option for a target group creation. So click on target group, and here you can see this section is empty. So we need to create a target group, and inside that target group, we need to include both the EC2 instances. So first of all, let's click on create target group. Here, there are certain types of target group which you can create, but for this example, we are just gonna stick with the EC2 instance or instances type target group. So just select this one, go ahead, and here you need to enter the name. So I'm just gonna put the test EC2 ALB demo target group. So TG is for abbreviation. IP address type, so I'm just gonna stick with IP4. VPC, because everything we are doing into the test VPC, so we need to select the test VPC over here. Protocol version, I'm just gonna stick with HTTP1. The health check endpoint, I'm just gonna go with the default root, because as you can see, we are just able to access our home page and we don't have any path which is like this. So we don't need to specify anything. So I'm just gonna go with the root path. Okay. Go ahead, advanced health check setting, I'm just gonna stick with the default. We don't need to change it. Tags, it's optional, so I'm just not gonna assign any tag name. Click on next over here. And as soon as you click next, then you can see all the EC2 instances running, which are ready to be included. So here you can see, here you can select the EC2 instances which you want to include. So I'm just gonna select these, and both of the EC2 instances are running, and now I have selected both of it. Now, after selecting, you need to click on include as a pending below. So here it will be included and it will be accessible on a port 18. So I'm just going to click include as pending below. And here you can see these targets are now included. And after that, you just need to click on the create target group. So click on this create target group over here. And here you can see our target group has been created. So click on this create target group, and yeah. So as of now, the health status is unused, as you can see over here, but you just need to wait for a couple of minutes and the health status should change to healthy. One correction I'd like to make over here. So here you can see the health status is unused because we have not created the application load balancer. So once we create the application load balancer, then this status will change. So now what we need to do, we just need to create our application load balancer. But before we create our application load balancer, let's take a look onto our architectural diagram. So here you can see we have come far away. So we have created VPC, internet gateway, public subnet, private subnet. We have provisioned the EC2 instance, and also we have created a targeted group. Now the next component which we need to create is we need to create an application load balancer. So let's go back to our application console, AWS console, and here click on EC2 dashboard. And in the left navigation, you will find an option for a load balancing, and here you will find an option for a load balancer. So click on this load balancer, and here you can see there are no load balancer has been created. So click on this load balancer button, and here you will find the three types of load balancer, which is application load balancer, network load balancer, and gateway load balancer. But here we are only interested into application load balancer, so we are just going to choose this one. Okay, so click on create over here. So now what we need to do, first of all, we need to assign the name for a load balancer. So I'm just gonna assign the test LB for EC2 demo. Okay, so that's the name. The scheme is internet facing. So yes, we want to have it as an internet facing load balancer. Into the network mapping, and as I have told many times, we are just working under a VPC which we have created, and the name of the VPC is test VPC. So in the drop down, you will find the test VPC. Just select that one. And once you select the test VPC, then you will automatically get the subnets which we have created. So here we have created the one public subnet, which is in EU Central 1A, and another one. We need to select both of it. Otherwise, our application load balancer will not work. Okay. The next thing which we need to create over here is the security group. So there is a one default security group which has been created, but we need to create a one more security group for port 80 and for accepting the HTTP request. So for that, what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to click on this create security group over here. And I'm just going to put security group for LB, ALB demo. and allow access from internet. That's the description I'm just gonna put here. We need to choose the VPC info. So here, if you click on this one, then I'm just gonna choose test VPC. Inbound rule, add, click here and type HTTP. And here I'm just gonna choose the port 80 and source. I'm just gonna put 000 so that anyone from anywhere can access this load balancer. Okay, so that this security group has been created. I'm just gonna copy this security group name because that will be needed to add this security group. And I'm just gonna click on create security group. Cannot begin with SG. Okay, so I need to change it. Okay, so let's put security group for ALB demo. And I'm just gonna click on create security group. All right, so this security group has been created. I'm just gonna copy this name from here and I'm just gonna close this window. I'm just gonna refresh this page over here. And here we should find that security group. So that's the security group which we have just created. Select that one. So now we have selected the default as well as the security group for allowing the HTTP request on a port 80. All right. Now here in the listeners and routing. So here we need to select the target group. So let's take a look onto the diagram once again so that it's easy to understand. So here in the green box, which is, you can see this is our target group. So this target group we need to select for this load balancer. And this target group which we have already created. So if you go over here in the target group, so here you can see. So this is the target group which we have already created, and inside the target group we have both the instances, EC2 instances running. So I'm just going to copy this name from here and into this listener and routing. I'm just going to select here. You can see it is by default coming because that's the only target group I have inside my AWS account. So I'm just going to select that one. And the listener tag is optional, so I'm just going to skip that one. Add-on services are optional, so I'm just going to skip that one. So here, just take a look onto this summary over here. So the basic configuration for this auto application load balancer is this is an internet facing, this is an IP4. Security group, we are allowing the HTTP 80. This is the security group which we have created. This is the default one, so I'm just not going to change that one. So this is the VPC, and this VPC is test VPC. And these are the subnets, the two subnet which I have created, which are public subnet. And this is the target group. So this is the target group inside where we are having two EC2 instances running. All right, so now we can just click on create load balancer. And as you can see, successfully created the load balancer. So just go on to load balancer tab once again, and here just wait for a couple of minutes because it's still into the provisioning state. So it might take a couple of minutes to provision this whole load balancer. So I'll be back once this auto load balance application load balancer is up and running. All right, so after a couple of minutes, my application load balancer is in an active state. So click on this application load balancer over here. And here you will find the details, and the detail which we are looking for is the DNS name so that we can access that application load balancer. So here you can see the DNS name which is present. So you can just copy this DNS name from here, go to the new tab and hit enter. And here you can see, I'm just going to zoom in a bit so that you can see. So now the request has been routed to the EC2 instance 2. I'm just going to refresh it once again. So here you can see the request is landing on another EC2 instance because the IP address has been changing. So again, refresh it. So here you can see the IP address has been changed, and we can verify the EC2 instances here also just to reconfirm what's the IP address. So EC2 instances. So I'm just going to open this one and this one. So the instance IP address, I'm just going to zoom in a bit if it is too small. So 12.03.160. And another one is 12.01/.142. So these are the two IP address. And if I refresh this, so the request is going to the 1/142, and then another request is going to the 3/160. So that's how we are just gonna set up the application load balancer, and that application load balancer is responsible for sharing the request between the EC2 instances which you have set up inside your VPC. So let's take a look onto the architectural diagram once again. So this was the target architectural diagram, and the last pieces were just nothing. It was just a few arrows. So here this was the user, and it is accessing the application load balancer, and the requests are being routed to both the EC2 instances. So here you can see, and the user is us, and this is the DNS name through which we are accessing the application load balancer, and then the request is getting routed to both the EC2 instances. I hope you liked today's session on application load balancer, and if you are interested into the similar content, then please check the description section where I have posted the links of various courses like Terraform, Helm chart, Kubernetes, Docker. So those are already available onto this channel. So go and check those courses, and there are many more sessions on AWS which I have planned, which I'll be uploading into the upcoming weeks. And if you are interested into the more in-depth DevOps practices and DevOps project, then I have a YouTube channel membership which you can be a part of, and where you will see more in-depth projects which I keep on uploading onto only for the members. So if you are interested, then please considering subscribing to the YouTube channel membership for my channel also. So see you into the next session of a DevOps or AWS series. Till then, take care and bye bye.